18 years ago, I stepped out of a New York City subway on a beautiful day in September. The sun was warm and bright, the sky was clear, perfect blue. I had my 6-month-old son in one of those front-facing baby carriers, so he could see everything. And when I turned right on 6th Avenue, what he saw was the World Trade Center on fire. As soon as I realized that this was an attack, the first thing I did without even really thinking about it was to take my baby and turn him around in that carrier. I didn't want him to see what was going on. And I just remember feeling so grateful that he was still young enough that I didn't have to tell him that someone had done this on purpose. 9/11 was like crossing a border, a hostile border into dangerous, uncharted territory. The world was suddenly in this terrifying new place, and I was in this place as a new mother. I remember my thoughts kind of ping-ponging around from how am I ever going to protect this baby to how am I ever going to get some sleep? Well, my son turned 18 this year, along with millions of other people who were babies on 9/11. And in that time, we have all crossed into this hostile, uncharted territory of climate breakdown, of endless wars, of economic meltdowns, of deep political divisions, of the many crises around the world that I don't need to list off because they are blaring at you every single day from your newsfeed. But there is something I've learned in these 18 years of parenting and in my years leading a global women's rights organization. There is a way to face these big crises in the world without feeling overwhelmed and despairing. It's simple and it's powerful. It's to think like a mother. Now, to be clear, you don't have to be a woman or a parent to do this. Thinking like a mother is a lens that's available to everybody. The poet Alexis DeVoe writes, "Motherhood is not simply the organic process of giving birth. It's an understanding of the needs of the world." Now, it's easy to focus on all of the obstacles to making this the world we want. Greed, inequality, violence, yes, there is all of that. But there's also the option to plant a seed, a different seed, and cultivate what you want to see grow, even in the midst of crisis. Majid from Iraq understands this. He is a house painter by trade and someone who believes deeply in equal rights for women. When ISIS invaded northern Iraq, where he lives, he worked with a local women's organization to help build an underground railroad, an escape network for women's rights activists and LGBTIQ folks who were targeted with assassination. And when I asked Majid why he risked his own life to bring people to safety, he said to me, "If we want a brighter future, we have to build it now in the dark times so that one day we can live in the light." That's what social justice work is, and that's what mothers do. We act in the present with an idea of the future that we want to bring about. All of the best ideas seem impossible at first. But just in my lifetime, we've seen the end of apartheid, the affirmation that women's rights are human rights, marriage equality, the fall of dictators who ruled for decades, and so much more. All of these things seemed impossible until people took action to make them happen. And then, almost right away, they seemed inevitable. When I was growing up, whether we were stuck in traffic or dealing with a family tragedy, my mother would say, "Something good is going to happen. We just don't know what it is yet." Now, I will admit that my brothers and I make fun of her for this, but people ask me all the time how I deal with the suffering that I see in my work, in refugee camps and disaster zones. And I think of my mom and that seed of possibility that she planted in me. Because when you believe that something good is coming and you're part...
I hope you guys are safe. Real talk. I hope you guys are safe.